So we're going to get into a new topic for a term that I've coined, super friendlies, which is a really cool and critical element you can use to weaponize at your launches to get product feedback and ultimately to send those signals to the Amazon algorithm that matter during the honeymoon launch phase. So the purpose of this video is to review the importance of super friendlies and how to develop them over time and understanding the risk and leveraging them ultimately for ranking. So a super friendly is basically people that you can directly communicate detailed instructions to via Facebook Messenger, email, text, phone, etc. to actually buy your products in a prescribed way at launch. I should note that this is a gray area. So we'll get into some of the risks of this. This isn't necessarily precisely white hat. I wouldn't call it black hat either. There's definitely just a little bit of risk depending on how you leverage super friendlies. So if you want to reference the Amazon seller code of conduct, there's a couple things here just to kind of point out. Number one, you kind of see there at the bottom, not to attempt to circumvent the Amazon sales process. I don't think that we're explicitly doing this with super friendlies, and we'll get into the steps and procedures later, but that is one potential gray area. And then there's the acting fairly section. I think we're pretty safe here, but just wanted to note that if you manipulate sales rank, like accepting fake orders or orders that you had to pay for or making claims about sales rank and product titles, that's a no-no per Amazon terms of service. I think we're good here, but just wanted to point that out. The second is artificially inflating web traffic. This is primarily speaking about bots and kind of computerized methods. But if you artificially inflate traffic on your listing, Amazon could see that as a breach of terms of service and suspend your listing and or account. The more important thing, I think, is really just looking at the review policies. So a couple here worth noting. A seller offers a third party a financial reward, discount, free products, or other compensation in exchange for a review on their product or their competitor's product. This includes using services that sell customer reviews, websites, or social media groups. So I think the big thing here is that if you ever give customers an incentive, a coupon code, a rebate, or a free product, you cannot then ask for them to give you a review. More importantly, you can't do a quid pro quo, which is, hey, I'm going to give you a rebate for a product in exchange for you to give me a review. That is a complete no-no. There's been over 600 Chinese Amazon sellers, some of them at the 9-figure level, that have been permanently suspended for this precise behavior. So we want to make sure that we're not tying any of this super friendly strategies to explicitly asking for reviews. The second bullet here just says a seller offers to provide a refund or reimbursement after the buyer writes a review, including reimbursement via non-Amazon payment method like PayPal. This could be done via buyer-seller messaging on Amazon or directly contacting customers or using third-party services, websites, or social media groups. So again, you can't just say, hey, once you leave a review, I'm going to send you a PayPal rebate. That's just going to be a complete no-no, and you're likely going to see a permanent suspension of your account, or at a minimum, at a suspension that you then need to write a POA and hire attorneys, and it's just a total mess. And then another really critical point here is that a family member or employee of the seller posts a review of the seller's product or a competitor's product. And you kind of may wonder, well, how are they going to know who my friends are, my employees are? And we'll get into this in a second, but basically, if you've ever used the same Wi-Fi account, if you've ever used the same IP address, if you've ever used the same computer, phone, or hardware as one of your family members, Amazon can link that behind the scenes and know that you're in some way affiliated with it. So let's say that you go over to your sister's house for Thanksgiving. You log into her Wi-Fi account, or you log into your Amazon account from her family computer. And then 6 months down the line, you're launching a new drape for a window. And so you hit her up, you're like, hey sis, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and buy this new drape I'm launching on Amazon. And if you could leave a review in a couple weeks, that'd be awesome. There's a potential that Amazon has linked you two together because of that footprint on the hardware and the IP address. And guess what? As soon as your sister drops a review, Amazon may flag that as a violation of terms of service and at a minimum remove that review, but it could be much worse and they could impact your account. So I think the biggest thing to be aware of when using super friendlies, you have to be really kind of concerted about who you select, and you need to keep reviews out of it explicitly. Otherwise, you run the risk of some bad things happening. So really the goal of super friendlies is to send a positive rank signal or signals to the Amazon algorithm during that launch phase. It's to get listing, product, and competitive feedback, and we'll get into that here in a second on how you do that. And it's to really do it with the lowest risk possible, right? So we want a clean and easy way for us to send these signals and get product feedback, but we don't want to do that at the risk of our account or of our ASIN per Amazon terms of service. So this cannot be family, colleagues, or anyone who has used the same Wi-Fi connection, IP address, or computer hardware. That's super, super critical. So stay away from former colleagues, stay away from family members. It's just not worth the risk. This is more like friends, friends of friends, acquaintances, people in your broader friend group that are maybe even outside of it, your buddy's wife, things like that, that are less affiliated with you directly. And the more your super friendlies align with the actual customer archetype, the better. So this includes shop history, valuable feedback, etc. So if you've got a friend or a friend of a friend or an acquaintance that, say in our case, is a golfer, that's awesome because they've likely purchased things on Amazon that are oriented around the golf niche. And I think that will send positive signals to Amazon when they kind of look at that buyer history, and it will improve the buyer quality for that particular keyword and product you're looking to rank for. Also, if they're actually in the archetype, they can give you legitimate feedback on your listing and on your product that can help you make it better for future buyers and future viewers of that particular listing. So here's the general approach and strategy. First, we cultivate a super friendly list. This again could be friends, friends of friends, people from Facebook groups, existing customers. So if you've interacted with customers that say email you after a purchase and say, hey, that golf push cart that I bought from you guys was the best thing I purchased last year. Thanks so much. I'm looking forward to future products. You can message them back and be like, awesome. We really appreciate the loyalty and feedback. If you're open to it, we would love to add you to our VIP list for future launches. If you're open to giving us input and feedback when we launch products, we're willing to give you a discount. You could do things like that to cultivate that list. And oftentimes we've cultivated dozens of former customers into these VIP super friendly lists just based on communications that come back from customers. And then it could also come from launch campaigns like that Viper campaign I talked about, where you've interacted and engaged with them through that contest form. And then again, you could weaponize them and leverage them for these launches as a friendly person that you can communicate with. You then take the super friendly list, and then the thought is that you give them some specific purchase instructions, and you're usually going to give them a discount or a rebate. In some cases, you may even be giving a free product in exchange for these instructions. But how I like to position this is really product research based. So you're approaching these super friendlies, and this is why it's really important to be able to communicate with them directly and casually, whether it be through Facebook, through text, through phone call, or email, so you can kind of engage on these instructions. But the general thought is hey guys, I'm launching this new golf push cart on Amazon. I would really, really like to get your feedback. In exchange for your feedback and going through some of these steps, I'm going to give you 50% off via rebate. Or I'm going to give you the product free via rebate, or I'll give you a 25% off coupon code. You can kind of make up your own incentive. But what I need you to do as part of this to give me some feedback is I want you to type in this particular search term. So you can give them a prescribed search term, or in some cases, you may give them a URL that you want them to click. And then you just say, hey, I want you to just go ahead and after you type that into Amazon, I want you to click on the first product that you see. And what I want you to do is I want you to go through all the photos. I want you to read the actual listing bullets, maybe even look at some of the reviews. And I want you to tell me one thing that you really liked about that product. And I want you to tell me one thing that you really didn't like. So that's kind of step number one. After you've done that, I want you to go back to the search results. I want to click on the next product that you see. And what I want you to do there is the exact same thing. I want you to look through all the photos, read the bullets, look through some of the reviews, just kind of digest the listing. And then I want you to tell me one thing you like, one thing you dislike. What those first two steps do is a couple things. First of all, it gives you really quality feedback on how your customer archetypes are viewing other competitors in the space. So you're going to get some inclinations on what they see that's positive, as well as some negatives you can expose. So there's absolutely a product research element to this. The other really cool thing about this, though, is it reflects normal buying behavior. So a normal customer in a normal situation that's not a super friendly on Amazon is going to type in a keyword. They are going to typically click on a couple ASINs. They're not going to just click on one, add it to cart and buy it, which is how most rebates work. That's just not good. They're going to actually look at the listing. They're going to spend time. It's going to reflect what a normal buyer would do. So it's from a data signals algorithmic standpoint, is very kind of aligned with what Amazon would typically look at. But again, you get that additional benefit of your customer archetype giving you feedback on other products that you can then leverage to make yours better. And then the final thing that you want to do is you want to actually have them track down your actual product. It's best to use this approach when you're kind of on page 1 or 2. So you may not want to deploy these immediately. If you're using a URL link, there's a little bit more kind of quickness you can do it right at day 1, but I typically like to launch this when you're kind of page 1 or 2. Then you can have them go ahead and find your product and do the exact same thing. Look at all the photos, read the bullets. Let me know one thing you really liked about our listing and one thing that you would actually recommend changing. And then you actually want to give them instructions to go ahead and purchase that product after they've kind of selected it. So the benefit of this, again, is you get a ton of product feedback. You're going to get insights on your own. I've actually had some insights on my existing products through this that I've actually changed bullets. I've changed images based on things that these super friendlies have provided in terms of research initially when I launch a product. Then they obviously purchase a product and you get some rank benefit for that keyword and for that additional kind of velocity that the algorithm's looking at during that honeymoon period. Then the approach is, if you're going to use, say, a rebate, is to actually rebate them after they've kind of conducted this research for you. I typically like to use Venmo for the main reason being, again, I don't think that we're doing anything against terms of service here at all. This is kind of very common practice, and I think that we're aligned with terms of service. But Amazon, there's thought that they actually do look at PayPal. So if you want to completely avoid risk, you probably want to stay away from PayPal. So Venmo is kind of what I would typically do in terms of reimbursing customers, if that's part of the element. If you just give them a coupon code, that's not the end of the world, obviously, in terms of doing it a reimbursement. Now, here's a really important thing, because a lot of people have historically used, friendlies like this and or rebate customers to then generate reviews. My personal approach is that I don't explicitly ask for reviews. Again, if you want to think about these folks, they're friends of friends, people from these groups, former customers, things like that. I just think it's best to avoid it completely, because we know for a fact that it's against Amazon terms of service to offer any kind of incentive and then ask for a review. But here's the cool thing. Most of these people, even without you asking them, may leave a review. So you don't even necessarily have to ask them to get some of that benefit of them leaving a review. So will all of them leave a review? No, but it's pretty common for these folks, 50+% to leave a review without you even asking. I just think it's important for you to kind of check your risk limit at the door and just say, hey, do I feel comfortable even explicitly asking? If you want to be letter of the law, don't ask. But the cool thing is those reviews might hit anyway. I will say this, if you are pursuing reviews, again, not something I necessarily recommend in this case, you definitely want to make sure that it's greater than 14 days. So you want it to be more normal review behavior. You don't want somebody to do a review 2-3 days when they just received the product or haven't even received the product yet. That could definitely be an additional red flag that Amazon may look at. So the outcomes of this helps with targeted rank. For certain keywords, it's going to give you the targeted rank that you want to send those signals during that honeymoon period using the Amazon algorithm. Replicates normal buying behavior. Again, most customers aren't going to just go down, scroll to page 5, click on only your product, add it to cart immediately without looking at photos or spending any time in the listing and buying it. That's super unnatural, abnormal behavior, especially if that buyer doesn't behave like that normally when they purchase products. Amazon's smart, and they're looking at data to kind of find those abnormal signals, and it could create some red flags. So this kind of approach, reflects what a common buying purchase would be: typing in, clicking on a couple ASINs, spending time on them, looking at photos, looking at reviews, clicking on another ASIN, finding another one. That's very normal behavior. The other thing that is an outcome here is we can over time build an army. So you do one launch and maybe build up 10 super friendlies, and then you have more customers purchase the product, you do more pre-launches, you find more people in the space. The next launch you have 25. The third launch you've got 40. But over time you kind of build this war chest of super friendlies that you can truly weaponize and have a major competitive advantage when you launch additional products, and you really kind of instigate that ranking flywheel when you have this kind of army of super friendlies over time. And then I would just say this, building super friendlies is not just a launch activity. So if you meet people that are your customer archetype in your regular life, whether it's friends of friends, like real life people, let them know, hey, I'm building a golf brand. I noticed that you're a golfer. I'd love to give you an opportunity to get a steep discount on our launch that's coming up in 3 months. Like, always be having those conversations. If you're interacting with Facebook group mods, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm looking to do a contest. Do you think that you would be willing for me to give 10 of your folks in your Facebook group an opportunity to have this product for free in order for us to get product research feedback? Customers that reach out over time and just say, hey, we love your product, or they're super fans, ask them if they want to be part of your VIP launch list because you really value their feedback as a loyal customer. All of these things can be done on an ongoing basis to build this army of super friendlies. And I'm telling you, this is a really critical approach, aligning with terms of service, giving you valuable product research, and giving you this opportunity to have effective launches. So super friendlies is a strategy I highly recommend if done in the right way. I think it's super valuable for an Amazon brand.